Deadman's Hand, 2 mana, warrior card. Shuffle a copy of your hand into your deck. Shuffle some dust into your collection. More like, it's terrible. It's awful. It's worse than Gen Up. No one will ever play this shit, man. It's terrible. It's like Explore Angora, but it's worse. Trump said it might see play somewhere. Like, what the fuck, man? It's just dust. It's seriously dust. It will never see any play. Why would you play this? Like, it doesn't do anything. You spend 2 mana doing nothing. Except you win fatigue. Play Prince Malchezaar. Okay? It will give you 5 legendaries. You will not lose in fatigue.
Deadman's Hand, another contender for possibly most overhyped card in the set. So for 2 mana, you shuffle a copy of your hand into your deck. This does technically enable another archetype, Fatigue Warrior, because if you have 2 Deadman's Hands in your hand, you can cast Deadman's Hand, and then you shuffle your hand, including the other Deadman's Hand, into your deck, and then you can go infinite off of it. So just like Jade Idol, you'll never run enough cards. Unfortunately, when you get down to Earth, kind of similar to Gang Up, its 2 mana have no effect on the board presence or your hand. It's like a super long-term thing. Will you be able to actually live the dream of Deadman's Handing your Deadman's Hand and going infinite off of that? It's a matter of seeing whether or not this archetype, which will probably be Control, will be able to like blast all 30 cards and then out-fatigue the opponent, basically. Why are you doing that instead of changing your hero power to Ragnaros's power, which will eventually kill your opponent also, while also being able to deal with the board? Kalento with the word dust. Kalento has spoken. Anyways, not to poo-poo on this card too much, because theoretically with Deadman's Hand, all possibilities are possible. If you have your 50-turn Hearthstone game, Deadman's Hand is pretty good. And finally, last and least,
Deadman's Hand. This is probably the most exciting card I've seen in the expansion so far. So it's a 2-cost warrior spell that does basically nothing and wastes a card. What it does though is allow Control Warrior to go infinite. If you just have a Control Warrior deck and you're like at 0 cards, you have a hand with like 7 cards and you have 2 of these in your hand, you play one of them and the other 6 cards go back in your deck, but one of the other 6 cards is the other Deadman's Hand. And then you can even wait until you have 10 cards and double up on some of those and then use one of the 2 Deadman. Basically, if you use this card while the other one is in your hand, you will never run out of cards in your deck unless somehow your deck goes missing. And that, I guess that might be possible. You'll see in a second. Okay, so that's ridiculous. The reason that's ridiculous is because the Control Warrior archetype has actually done pretty well against aggro decks. It just has, I don't know how to say this, it failed miserably against the modern control decks that have extreme card generation. Control Warrior just doesn't have the card generation, it doesn't have the card value that it used to on a comparative level to the other control decks. But this changes all of that. You can play Control Warrior and run a ton of draw. You can play Control Warrior and run a ton of wasteful cards that just give you armor. Like that other card that was released, my last review, you know, 10 armor and reduce the cost of your opponent's minions in hand by 2, that looks really crappy. Well, this is what, with that, that's pretty good. That's actually a pretty good card now. I can totally see this deck working, and this is the heart of that deck. So I think I'm going to have some fun with that.
Deadman's Hand. Shuffle a copy of your hand into the frick. What? Okay. What? Okay, so you play Control Warrior. So this is like Gang Up, right? This is like Gang Up, where you fill your deck with stuff, but you don't affect anything. Oh, that's so weird. This card is weird. Oh, Sai9, thanks for the reset of 10 months. Thank you very much. I'll read your message later after all this. So, Gang Up, while it was an interesting effect, it never got there. So, I'm assuming that Deadman's Hand is just bad. 2 mana do nothing is really bad. You can unluckily draw patches and then shuffle a patches into your deck. Nah, it's bad. It's bad. 0 stars. Okay.
And well, where we already saw Bring It On, the next one, This Man's Hand. So you think that sometimes Warrior cannot fatigue anymore? Well, now we have the card, guys, that can go infinite. Now a Warrior, after the Jade Idol being revealed for a Jade Druid, now Warrior also has the mechanic of infinite value. We are never gonna fatigue. Shuffle a copy of your hand into your deck. So the way that the infinite mechanic can work is if you play two of this card of the Desmond hand, if you just make sure you always play this card when you have the second Desmond hand in your hand, you can shuffle another one in your deck, and once you're having two of them again, you play one of them again, you shuffle a new one in your deck, and so the mechanic keeps rolling and keeps going, and you will never fatigue. So that really makes a totally new archetype again possible for Warrior. Warrior can now be the Fatigue Warrior. It is not even close on the same level as the Jade Druid. Again, for this archetype to really make work, Jade Druid has to go away. So in tournament formats where you can maybe make a ban, then it can really pun it, or it can really be something. But well, there isn't really the Fatigue Warrior. It's just now you can really play your Fatigue. Fatigue Warrior has been it has been a Fatigue deck that was already around from the start because of the great control tools the Fatigue Warrior has. And well, this can really make his own archetype. Now you just don't need win condition anymore. You just don't lose. So if you don't lose, suddenly at some point of the game, well, your opponent either gives up or you win. So you can just play all the cards in your Warrior deck. Just make sure you don't lose. Play your removals, play armor cards, play stall cards, and that way you are just making sure you're not gonna lose. And that way the Desmond hand might find play. Games are definitely gonna be long with the cards with that archetype, but hey, these are definitely also really satisfying decks to sometimes play. And we'll see how this will all go all the way. But definitely a card you should look out for.